welcome to MotorMouth, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra.
Is this where I'm supposed to say I'm Dan?
Your name, yes.
Yeah, I'm Dan.
You should have written that one down, huh?
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, I'm Dan.
And we're here not in our usual spot. We usually start in the diner, but tonight we're starting with our 1907 Dragon, and we'll get to that in a minute. But if you would like to contact us at the museum, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call at 610-367-2090 or visit our website, www.boyertownmuseum.org. The museum is open 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And lots of cool stuff going on here as always. Probably, I guess the biggest thing coming up would be Diner Day on November 3rd, which will be in the diner later. So
yeah, don't worry, we still have it.
Don't worry, it's still here.
Yeah.
We didn't take it out the door
I'm
yet.
looking forward to Diner Day.
Yeah, I always
I think
have.
we sort of had a little taste of it today.
We did.
Yeah, we didn't have pie, but we had cake.
It had apples in it.
Yeah, it was
Something.
good. So, anyway.
We get food provided for us. It's nice. So, we're just going to jump right in because I have no idea, Dan, why we're standing at the 1907
No, you don't.
Dragon. No,
you
I
don't. Okay. So I'm going to be talking not necessarily about this car, but I'm going to be talking about this item right here, better called a clock. A clock, okay? And if you remember, I think it was 2 months ago, I had you sitting in a car, and we were talking about honking a horn.
Yes.
Yes, an electric horn.
With your
yeah, with your
fingertips.
finger. And why was that? Why did you have the horn in your fingertips? And it was like a little switch that you would activate by just bringing your finger and thumb together.
Like the ease of it.
Yeah,
right?
well, so you wouldn't take your hands off the steering wheel.
For safety.
Because, now you have the horns right there at the steering wheel, but back then, actually, this has the horn over there on the side. So you had to reach all the way over to your side and honk the horn or whatever, okay? And I think the Model T had a button right on the steering shaft, but still you had to take your hands off the steering wheel to do that. Well, I came up with another thing today. Actually, before I continue, you're looking at an advertisement of that JF portable horn button, which is 1919. This is 1907, but pretend this is a used car, maybe 4 years old, okay? So it takes you to
All
what?
right.
1911, right? Good.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the Simplex watch holder. So you see a picture of that, and that's actually the picture off the patent, and it shows a steering wheel very similar to what you see here in front of Jay. This is our model for the night is Jay, doing a great job, okay?
Stellar.
And their big thing was you don't want to take your eyes off the road, okay? You want to keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the steering wheel. Does anybody do that today? Some people do, okay? Now,
Yeah.
I mentioned the clock here is right on this side. Okay, so Jay would have to look all the way down here, going at the great speed of what, 10 maybe? Okay, not too fast, but still, they were trying to get all the different angles of this newfangled thing called an automobile. So it was called the Simplex, easy for me to say, Simplex watch holder.
It's simple.
And and it was made by, or invented by a guy named H.L. Lang out of Staunton, Virginia. And we had a guest on here from Staunton.
We
You remember
did.
here, Zach?
Yes, our
Remember him?
Camaro.
Zach Straight. Yep. And anyway, you're looking at a picture, an advertisement for that from that company, and their little saying says, "Better than a clock. Any watch will fit this attachment. Places the time where you can see it. Watch can be inserted or removed instantly." Now, Jay, for instance, has a watch on his wrist. Okay, better called a wristwatch. Clever, huh?
Very.
But back then, I believe, the pocket watches were big. They were popular and stuff. And you see, Kendra, you wouldn't have worked because the women didn't have pocket watches.
We don't need to tell time.
Okay. Okay. So instead of getting your pocket watch out or reading the clock on the dashboard here, you would have your handy dandy pocket watch right there, mounted on the spoke of one of the spokes of your steering wheel. You see, it's just this little piece of metal. It just clamps onto the steering wheel, and your watch just clamps right on there. And it's pretty simple. Costs $1, postpaid, nicely finished, and nickel plated. And I'm trying to think, who is this H.L. Lang from Stanton, Virginia? He actually had a jewelry store in that town, or his name was associated. I'm assuming it's the same person.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, he sells the watches plus the accessory watch holder for your steering wheel. So that's out of 1911. And the next thing you'll see is after a year, there was a new company out there called the Sterling Manufacturing Company out of Staunton, and they made the time clutch, which was the same thing. I have a feeling the same people, they just formed their own company for it. Okay, you could get this item, this time clutch watch holder in nickel for $1, polished brass for $1, or gunmetal for $1.50. And I noticed in their advertising, and you'll see this also if you look really, really close to the advertisement on your TV screen, you could get a vibration-proof watch. That was all part of their advertising.
You need one for these cars.
Yes, guaranteed for 1 year. A nickel-plated one would be $1.50, gunmetal $2. So if you did the gunmetal route for $3.50, you get a watch and a watch holder. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I'd say
guess.
so.
I don't know what that'd be in today's.
1911?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to get back to you on that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And along with the time clutch, it says it keeps the time of the day right where it ought to be, where you can see it without taking your eyes off the road for an instant. It ought to be in your car right now, and you are jeopardizing your life and that of others by not having it there.
Ooh.
So pretty strong language back then in 1912. And just kind of interesting. It just, you look at this thing, it's this little clip, not much to it. But they saw a need. I don't know, maybe they made a need. You know, maybe there really wasn't a need. Okay, Jay, pretend you're driving 10 miles an hour down the road. How hard would it be to look at this clock here? It'd be pretty easy, okay? But if you had, a pocket watch, you don't want, you took your hand off the wheel too.
Oh,
what if you had a beep at the same time? Things get complicated in these cars. But I don't know, I think they were safety conscious and trying to maybe think ahead, be proactive in their safety thinking. Now, this guy I mentioned, H.L. Lang, better known as Henry L. Lang, he had 2 patents. This watch holder was one of them. The other one goes back earlier to 1904. And I know, Kendra, you're gonna like this because you haven't even seen this yet.
I haven't.
You're gonna see it on your TV there, but there it is. He came up with a design for badge or similar article. That's what it was called. And it's this little squirrel on a little coat of arms or something.
I love it.
That's it. I couldn't find anything else. It's a patent, and I read it, and it doesn't explain what it's for. But why a squirrel? I don't know.
No explanation needed.
Maybe that's the
Squirrel.
I don't know. So
The mystery.
that's the mystery.
Time
yes.
and space.
So that's the story of the simplex watch holder and the time clutch, as well as a little squirrel thing.
A little squirrel. Crust him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's it.
But what
Oh.
little tidbit can you tell me about that clock? Remember?
This clock.
This is a pop quiz.
It's not correct.
No.
It's 4:45. Maybe it's in 1907 time.
Remember the parlor fact I taught you about this clock? I'm so disappointed.
No.
No.
What?
It's made by Waterbury,
Oh,
who invented the
airplane.
Mickey Mouse wristwatch.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
I
one.
remember you talking
See?
about the Mickey Mouse wristwatch.
There's your useless fact for this evening.
I think
There you
that's
go.
more than my better than my squirrel fact. So
We're going to dig deeper on the squirrel.
we are, we, you.
Okay, I'm going to dig deeper on the squirrel.
I want to see it in the next newsletter,
Ooh, all right.
which you only have half done, so it'll be that
All
one.
right, it'll be the next one.
Oh, okay.
I need some time.
All right. Okay.
All right, we're going to go to our guest, which, did you plan that with the squirrel?
Did I plan it?
Yeah, and our guest. And
No,
our guest
I
car.
just
It's going to
hit me.
seamlessly transition. Bear with us.
Yeah.
We will meet you in front of the gas station.
Okay.
All right, well, we are here now with our guest car. And before we continue, I just want to thank one of our MotorMouth viewers who very generously supported our programming tonight in memory of Ronald Gernert. I hope you're watching. We appreciate your support, and thanks to you, we're here tonight. So we're touched by that. So thank you.
We are.
Our guest tonight is Butch Zalosi, and he's got his 57 Chevy Squirreltown Screamer, which Dan obviously knew when he was talking about his squirrel badge that we were going to go to this. Just play along and say that you planned
I
it.
did know that. Yes, absolutely. The squirrel badge and the Squirreltown Screamer. Yeah, I spent weeks,
Months.
Well, I didn't spend any time, and you reminded me at the end. Okay.
Well, Butch, thank you. I know you came a distance to be with us tonight, and we appreciate that. What do you have here? What is this?
This is a 57 Chevy NHRA drag racer that would have raced back in the late 60s, around 68, 69. And it's a stock eliminator car, which pretty much is a stock automobile with the exception of the engine being balanced and blueprinted. And so every piston weighs the same and every connecting rod is identical. And to get the most out of what was made from Detroit back in the day.
So, Butch, you said that these raced in 68, 69 back, so we're saying 50 years ago.
Right.
But yet you race this now, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And is it like a nostalgia type of class, or?
Yes, it's nostalgia racing. When I first completed this car 25 years ago, I was about the only car that was like this. There was other ones, but I hadn't known about them. The reason I built the car was because I enjoyed watching these cars race back in the day, and we had our local heroes at the local tracks that we cheered on, and it was very tight racing. It was going across the finish line bumper to bumper.
So when you're racing now, is it really competitive against the next guy, or is it just the thrill of, driving a car down the track fast?
No, we want to keep it fun. Once we start getting into competitiveness, then some cars aren't exactly as they were raced back in the day. Some of them have a bigger engine or something like that. So what we do is more or less just what they call a grudge racing. You want to race against me? All right, let's go. And we go out and we race. There's probably 12 to 15 cars like this throughout the nation, and we get together at different events and race. The latest one was in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We have done just about every year in York, Pennsylvania. Darwin Dahl had a show, Muscle Car Madness, and we would show the car on Friday and Saturday, and on Sundays we'd head up to Beaver Springs Dragway and we'd do some racing. There was something else I was going to ask there. So you say there's roughly 15 in the country. So when you get together, is that like part of a bigger meet, for instance, and you Yes,
have
yes.
like their own little?
The last one we were at was what they call the Tri-5 Nationals, which is 55 to 57 Chevys. Not necessarily just this size 57 Chevy.
Right.
Could be a truck, could be a Corvette. And there, at last count, I guess it was over 2,700 cars gathered at this track.
Okay.
And not all of them raced by a long shot. It's just these junior stockers, we had, I think, 11 or 12 cars.
Okay. And I noticed that this is something that I found interesting, but I looked up junior stock on the internet and such, and it seems like a majority of the cars are 57 Chevys.
Right.
So why would that be?
Well, one of the reasons is there was so many engine choices back in '57. You could have a 283 horse 283 with fuel injection, and you could have, say, a 180 horse 283. And what determined the class on these cars was they went by the weight of the car per horsepower. And when cars started to dominate, say this one is a 210, that's the particular model that this car is. Say it raced with the 270 horse engine, and a bunch of 270 horse 210s started to dominate a class. They would refactor the horsepower on the engines. So they would say, step it up, I'm just picking a number, 275 or 280 horse. Well, now the car isn't, you had it set up so it was competitive, now it's not competitive. But the beauty of the '57 Chevy is you could put a different carburetor on it or a different camshaft to change the horsepower, and now it would be competitive again.
All staying within the stock rules.
Within
correct?
stock rules, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's interesting you were saying about the grudge matches, and somebody says, my car's better than yours, so let's go out on the track, right? That kind of stuff. Now you gave me a business card and shows you have another car,
Yes.
a 55 wagon,
Yes.
and you're racing each other. Are you?
Right.
You're not in both of them, are you?
No. No,
Okay.
my son Michael drives the red wagon when we race the two of them together.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And the red wagon has a 430 horsepower engine. It's a full second faster than this car.
Right.
So I just tell him, don't make the old man look bad. So
Yeah.
we keep it pretty close.
Okay. So I was talking to you earlier, and I mentioned about the engine, and I know you went to great pains to make this as per a factory stock
Stock
dragster, from that era, and the factory specifications for the engine are right on. But you even told me the interior, you were talking about different pieces on your dashboard, like the heater delete plate is there and such.
Yes.
And so it's really authentic to a factory car from 1957 that would have been racing in
in the 60s.
68
Yeah.
or 9, yeah. So, and it's quite hard. You told a couple stories of finding pieces, or not finding, but obtaining the pieces.
Yeah.
And why don't you tell
Some of the pieces took upwards of 3 and 4 years to come to find, because here in Pennsylvania, you need heaters. So
Right.
finding a heater delete in Pennsylvania is near impossible. So what I would do is go to car meets, say down in Florida and South Carolina, in a warmer climate where they don't have heaters, and it's easier to find a heater delete back in that area.
Right. And tell me about the cigarette lighter delete plate.
The cigarette lighter delete is a rare item on this, and ironically I found one in our own town in a junkyard. The car was just sitting there, and I looked, I couldn't believe I found a cigarette lighter delete.
Yeah. And you also got your steering wheel there too, right?
The steering wheel, yes,
Which is rare. So,
yes.
So, and the engine itself, you were telling me last week that there were certain things they could do with the cam to give more power, and still staying within stock, or were you kind of like pushing the envelope a little bit?
What the NHRA did was they checked for lift and duration, how long the valve stays open, and how far the valve opens. And they were very critical on that, especially the junior stockers. What they did was a couple of guys had developed these cheater cams that had the same lift and the same duration. However, at the top of the lift, they flattened the lobe out to where the valve would stay open all the way longer.
Okay.
And any little edge you could get was tremendous on these cars, because there was so many of these made, and every kid in high school put a set of traction bars on and a set of headers, and they were racing. So you had to do whatever you could to get the edge.
Yeah. Now, I'm thinking 2 years ago, we had a gentleman on our show with the 55 Chevy, and he raced that in junior stock, I believe. Now he totally restored it. It's a street car now. And he was talking, he had there's a 265 engine in it, but it was faster than everybody else's when he was racing. And when he took it apart, he found a Corvette camshaft in it, but it was in a full-size Chevy car. But it was from the factory that way, so everything was legal. And you know, you mentioned earlier about there were so many different combinations in the engine that you know you can have, whether the carburation or you know, you have fuel injection in these things too. So that was a lot. So
you have had this for.
Well, it's been together 25 years, and I
when you
took
say
7 years to
together,
build.
I was going to say, you had shown me photos before. It looked nothing like this when you started
No.
on it.
When I bought the car, it was a bare body, and it was rusted, as I like to say, up to the door handles. When you put the body on the ground, it would sink 3 inches because all of the floor pans and everything were rotted away in the supports, and the car would just sort of buckle in. And probably a mistake on my part, but I decided to do the car and get it done. And when I bought it, it was 4 truckloads of parts and a bare body. I bought it for $150, and I sold the power steering unit off of it for $150. So I said, how can I lose?
yeah.
The next thing, I'm $15,000 in the hole in parts, and now what do I do?
Now I noticed a pattern. You mentioned $150 that you bought it. You stole you sold the power steering $150, and it was $15,000. You said, so it's 150 and. Oh, erase that. I was thinking this is a 150
No, it's
type, and this
210,
is a
yeah.
210. Forget that last statement, folks. Okay. Okay. I was just, yeah.
Yeah, but basically the only thing that's original to the car is the top, the firewall, and the dashboard. The fenders, I would say, came from Colorado. The doors came from North Carolina. This rear fender came from North Carolina, and the right rear fender came from Wyoming, I believe. The trunk lid is original to the car. And believe it or not, the side trim, the stainless, is original to the car, with the exception of this piece of chrome on this side and that side, because they were so badly dented. But all of the other stainless I had polished
Wow.
and put back on the car.
And speaking of the trunk lid, you were telling us before you've gotten like an autograph collection on your
Yes.
trunk lid there.
Yes, it started in 1995. We were next to Don Garlitz at a show, and I asked him if he would autograph the trunk, and he thought I was nuts, but he did it. And then Linda Vaughn, Miss Hirsch Shifter, did it, and then it just grew from there. All the racers that I could find that raced basically junior stocks autographed this, and a couple customizers like Gene Winfield and alike did it too. So,
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier, and it's like a who's who of famous car people,
Yeah.
racers.
yeah, what I like about it is you don't really see it looking at the car, but when you open up the trunk,
Yep.
it's all there.
Yeah.
And,
And is there a significance to the Jenkins apparel hanging in the window there.
Well, Jenkins was more or less one of the fathers of junior stock racing. This guy was somewhere between a scientist and a race car driver and engine builder. To have something that Jenkins did on your car is like a status symbol. The engine in this car was originally done by Jenkins back in 1969, and the engine wound up holding a national record back in 1970. Of course, it wasn't in a 57 Chevy, right. It was in a 58 Chevy sedan delivery. And I had bought bought the engine from Walter Toes that campaigned that car with his wife. And he had those pieces when I started putting this together back 1991, 92. And he was nice enough to sell me all of the parts and do the machine work to bring it up to race it again.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because, you know, in the drag racing community, I mean, Bill Jenkins is like the name, you know, yes. Grumpy Jenkins. And,
yes.
you know, his name still lives on, you know, after his death. So.
As a matter of fact, the stripes on the roof here was originally done by the Dodge guys, the Ram Chargers. They had automatic transmission in their car, and they called it the Candy-Matic. I think it's in reference to the old candy stripers that used to be in the hospital. The car was white, the stripes were red, and back in '66, Jenkins put the stripes on his '66 Nova, more or less to agitate the Ram Charger guys, I believe.
He seems like he'd be that type of person. Yeah. And so that's fairly common, is the stripes like?
This is, that's an East Coast thing, basically. And like I said, it's a spin-off from Jenkins, and basically the junior stockers on the East Coast had the stripes.
Yeah. Because again, I noticed when I went online and was looking at different pictures of these junior stockers, about half of them had stripes on the roof.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
As a matter of fact, the guy that put the stripes on the roof for me told me, "I don't know why you want me to ruin your beautiful car." He just didn't understand what I was doing.
Didn't get it. So what kind of speeds do you get from this when you use it?
This car will cover the quarter mile. The fastest it's ever gone is a 13.2. But the stars and the moon and the driver and everything's got to be aligned to get it to go that fast.
Okay.
Usually it'll go 13.5s, 102, 103.
All right.
Which for a 3,510-pound car, it's not too bad. We're a little 283 that's stock.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, you seem to have gotten parts from all over the country, but the car's been all over the country too, right?
Yes, yes. The car was on loan to the National Hot Rod Association back in 2000 to 2002. It was on loan to the Motorsports Museum where it was on display. It may go back there someday, I don't know.
So Motorsports, the Eastern Motorsports?
No.
Okay.
It's the National Hot Rod Association.
Okay, that one, all right. Okay.
Their museum out in Pomona, California.
Yep.
And,
so I'm looking at this, the color, the flags on the door and so on and so forth. Is there an inspiration, you know, from somebody from your youth, or is this just something?
When I built this car, I had a dream of building a car from the ground up. And I knew I had to do it. And I had read somewhere that if you want a car on the cover of a magazine, you're more likely to get on the cover if the car is either red or yellow. And I knew I wanted to put the flags on the door. And initially I wanted to paint the car red, but the red on the flag just wouldn't go. So I went over all the different Chevy color charts for 1957, and I found one chart that said Calypso Cream, and this was the color, and I said, that's the color. It's got to be that color, and that's what we did.
And so you did get your car on the cover of a magazine?
Yes, it was on the cover of Super Chevy back in '95.
Okay.
And that spurred other things, they made it into a Hot Wheels car in '97. The designer for Hot Wheels, one of the designers, saw it on the cover of Super Chevy, and he said, I asked him why he did that, and he said that he hadn't seen such a clean look on a 57 in a long time, and that's why he chose this car to be on.
So there we go. We have the model of a Hot Wheels car sitting right here.
Yes.
This is cool.
Cool.
In front of our gas station. So, okay, Kendra, you have to ask.
Yes, I do have to ask.
I'm waiting. I've been waiting for this since. When did I meet you? In May? June? June?
Yeah. So why the Squirrel Town Screamer?
The small section of town I live in is called Squirrel Town.
Okay.
When I take off from the starting line with this, I have in the past, 7,000 RPMs. So the engine's really screaming. So Squirrel Town Screamer just fit perfect.
It's a good name.
Okay.
And it caught.
You do that in the neighborhood too?
Yeah. Once in a while.
And you had that painted by, you had just shown photos of that. That's hand.
The car is hand lettered. Alan Johnson did this out of Blairstown, New Jersey. He was lettering cars back in the mid-'60s to now. And
Wow.
he was lettering these cars in the staging lanes before they were getting ready to race. So he would start to letter the car, and the car would have to go to race, and he'd start lettering another car. So he'd probably have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 cars he was lettering at the same time. And he would just stay in the staging lanes and just wait for the car to come back and then just continue a little bit farther.
That's,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
neat. That's neat.
It's a way to pay the bills.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Captive audience.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned off air something about the M&H slicks. Are they making reproduction M&H slicks now, or is that a Coker tire type thing? Or?
Well, Coker Tire took over. I don't know if they're still doing it or not. They took over M&H. There was a guy by the name of Marv Rifkin, and he was M&H Tire out of Boyertown, Massachusetts. And Marv was a good friend to racers. If you needed help, he would give you a set of tires and pay him whatever you can. Or he'd say to you, I'm going to try a new compound. Let me try that on your car. Here's a set of slicks. Try it. Let me know how it works. And unfortunately, he passed away, I'd say maybe 14, 15 years ago. And then somebody else had taken over M&H Tire, and then Coker.
Yeah, because I know Coker makes a lot of reproduction. I mean, even ones that, you know, that they're not going to sell, you know, thousands and thousands of, you know, we'll say, for lack of a better word, an oddball tire, you know. They have, you know, like the stuff we have here in the museum that has weird sizes, you know, it's probably Coker will sell us a tire, so. And it's interesting because I've always wondered how Marv's last name was pronounced, and you did it. It's the first time I ever heard it pronounced.
Yeah, he was a very nice guy. I had met him out in Bakersfield, California at the Hot Rod reunion. I talked to him about the tires and about the car, and just a very nice guy. And fortunately, time took its toll. You know.
So you enjoy doing this, obviously. I mean, this is kind of your hobby, and it's probably more than a hobby, right?
It's a livelihood.
It's a livelihood, yeah. And, you know, I had a great conversation with Butch out of Carlisle back in, I guess it was June, and really neat. And, you know, it was a neat show. Kind of sparsely attended, but you had such gems such as this sitting there. And
well, the weather played a big part there.
Well, yeah, it did play. It was kind of shaky there, so.
Now you say all these people that you've met. Has the car kind of helped you meet some of these people?
Oh yes, I made a lot of friends with this car, and I got to know a lot of the legends that built parts for these cars back in the day, like Marv, Jerry Stahl. He's a local guy. He's from New York.
Yep.
Jerry Stahl and I got to be very good friends, and it's nice to talk to these guys to know how they come up with the ideas of how they did things and developed the things.
Because Jerry Stahl, he was probably racing at one time and probably needed something on his car.
Right.
Yeah, and then he just worked it out.
Him and Jenkins were partners for a while.
Right.
And Dick Moroso made a lot of racing parts for cars.
Yep.
And I didn't get to meet George Hurst. That's one of my things I just didn't get to do. He passed before.
Yeah.
But
and you mentioned different names and different products and stuff. And the Krager wheels, you know, I remember when I was a kid, they were the wheels, you know, and you had them, and then they sort of disappeared, and they were, you know, I didn't see them around, and I guess they're reproducing them now too.
now they're reproducing them. Another company had bought them out.
Right.
And the old Kragers, these are worth quite a bit of money now.
Okay.
Because most of them, guys enjoyed them, and they got rusty, and that was the end of them.
Yeah. So.
I have an anticlimactic question. The 2 dots on that headlight.
Oh.
Well, I've attended the Good Guy shows, and when you won a particular award, they put that sticker on your headlight to tell you that you won.
Ah, okay.
And it's sort of a status symbol to have that sticker
Yeah.
on there.
Oh. Huh.
And what award did you win?
This was, what the heck was it called?
Uh-oh.
Period Perfect. That's
Okay.
what it was. It was Period Perfect. And
Neat car. Neat car.
Yeah, you've put a lot of work into this. Like I think you were saying the one part you were, you know, in your living room even, you had parts you were working on.
I rebuilt
fix
the
up.
whole instrument cluster in the living room watching TV. I'd paint the parts downstairs and then bring them upstairs and assemble it.
Wow.
There's our TV reference for the show.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and when I was a kid growing up, our family had a 57 Chevy, the 283 and old, but you know, nothing like this, just a regular 4-door sedan with ice cream stains in the back seat. This is my sister.
Yeah, it wasn't you,
Oh,
was
no.
it? No.
So,
So you travel around with us a lot, so our viewers maybe might see you somewhere? Or?
Yes, travel up and down the East Coast. Hopefully get out to California again with it. But generally it's in the area here. I race at Maple Grove. I race at Beaver Springs Dragway, New Media sometimes. Island Dragway is my home track. It's about 20 minutes away from my house. So if there's a nostalgia event, I try to make it. If not with this car, with the red 55 wagon.
okay. Any other questions,
Good.
Curator? Okay. Thanks for bringing it.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Appreciate getting to know you too, and you know, talking to you, you know, a few times here. So.
I love this museum. This is
Well,
something
thank you.
else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked me to come. Now I see it.
Well, we're honored to have it.
And the
Neat.
car matches a lot of stuff here, so you know, your mileage will be better on the way home if you kept this here.
It's a really neat car. So thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome.
All right.
Dan, I have to congratulate you. That was a really good find for tonight's car. You're the man.
Yeah. It's called I'm the man.
You're the man.
Yeah.
Good.
And you thought just Chase Utley was the man.
I did. You proved me wrong.
Yeah. No, it was neat talking to Butch out of Carlisle, and when I asked him about being on TV, and he hesitated, and I said, "Well, Kendra's part of the show," and that's
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Silly
but,
man.
but really, it's there's so much neat stuff out there, neat cars and stuff, and you can go to these shows, and we had the Street Rod Show in Macungie just a couple days ago, and I didn't go, but I'm sure there would have been cars up there. There's a Corvette, Corvettes of Carlisle over the weekend, and I'm sure there'd be great stuff there. And then there's all these private collections. There's a lot of really, really good stuff out there with interesting stories.
I was going to say, neat cars, but neat stories.
Sometimes you'll have a car, and I mean, I guess there's a story behind everything, but yeah. So
well, good job.
It was fun. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
So besides Carlisle, where you met Butch, where have you been lately?
Where have I been lately? Well, the first thing I'm going to mention is not really a place I haven't been there in a couple of years, but I was thinking about this, and this has been kind of like on the back burner, and this is really cool. It has to do with transportation, but not car. Well, I guess cars, train cars, because it has something to do with the train. And if you go north in the state of Pennsylvania, north, almost north of Scranton, actually, between Scranton and Binghamton, on, I believe it's on Route 11 up there. And there's an item up there called the Tunkhannock Creek Viaduct. Ever hear of it?
No.
You haven't been around.
I haven't.
It's also
called
the Tunkhannock Viaduct, and also the Nicholson Bridge. The town there is Nicholson.
Okay.
That's where Steve Skernowitz lives, the editor of Double Clutch. Okay, anyway, that was free information.
Neither here nor there.
Okay, the very interesting, and you're seeing the first picture there of the bridge, and there's a train going across, and I understand that's an excursion from Steamtown, USA, which is up in Scranton. You ever been there?
No, but I've heard much about it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Bob Tomein's involved with them.
He is?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of.
All right. And anyway, that bridge, as you can see, is a pretty impressive looking bridge there. I have a little picture. You want to see it?
I love it.
There you go.
I love it.
Okay. 1912 to 1915. It took 3 years, or I guess that's 4 years, 12, 13, 14, 15, to construct that. It's part of the Delaware, Lackawanna, Western Railroad. And November 6, 1915, it opened. Okay, the size of it, you only see in a little bit of that there, or not a little bit, but about half of it.
Wow.
There's 10 spans, 180 feet per span.
Wow.
The height from the creek bed, which would be the Tunkhannock Creek, is 240 feet. So that's impressive. That's up in the air.
Yeah, it is.
And it crosses the Tunkhannock Creek. And it was built as part of the Nicholson Cutoff, which that cutoff was actually 39.6 miles, which is a pretty big cutoff. It replaced a winding and hilly section. So it actually saved overall 3.6 miles, but it must have been very hilly because it saved 21 minutes of passenger train time and an hour of freight train time, which is pretty impressive. And, the trains were the king back there in 1915 when it opened. So you're going to see another picture there. Here's an aerial photo, and it shows more of it, and it shows the town of Nicholson at the base of it. And Nicholson is not a big town. It's a lot smaller than Boyertown. That bridge dominates the skyline. Now you're looking kind of down at one of the photos, you're looking down, the other one you're looking over. But when you're driving there, you're looking up, and it's just huge. And they have a little parking area with a historic sign and all that sort of stuff. And very impressive, and you can't help but just stand there and say, wow, that's some big,
I mean, that
bridge.
First photo you had, that looks like a little toy train up there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
huge. Wow.
So anyway, I'm going to read something. This is out of Wikipedia, and this shows some facts and figures. And thinking, over 100 years ago they were doing this stuff. Construction of the bridge began in May of 1912 by excavating all 11 bridge piers to bedrock, which was up to 130 feet below ground. In total, excavation for the viaduct removed 13 million cubic yards of material, more than half of that rock. Almost half of the bulk of the bridge is underground. At mid-construction, 80,000 cubic yards of concrete had gone into a substructure. That's mid-construction. It was estimated that the construction would require 169 cubic yards of concrete and 1,140 short tons of steel. The steel estimate proved accurate. The bridge ultimately used a bit less concrete than expected at 167 cubic yards, making a total weight approximately 670 million pounds. So it's just a big structure. It's now owned by Norfolk Southern Railway. Again, Delaware, Lackawanna, Western Railroad were the ones who built that. 1977, it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wow.
So if you want to go north, go leaf changing time,
Ooh, I bet that would be pretty
You
up
get
there.
a bonus. You get a bridge to look at, too.
Yeah.
It really dominates it. And this is it's a few miles north also of Factoryville, Pennsylvania, which is the the birthplace of Christy Mathewson, Hall of Famer.
Oh.
That was free information.
That is. I like that.
Okay.
So we got our TV reference and our baseball reference
Yes.
tonight.
Yes. Okay. Now we're talking about bridges. Here comes another one. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
For you, Chris. Okay. And I just saw this last night to make sure it was there. Okay. It's called the Rockville Bridge, and that there was an original bridge there. 1849 it was built, and this crosses the Susquehanna River just a little bit north of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So again, 1849, the original bridge opened, and then 1900 to 1902, the construction of the current bridge went on by Pennsylvania Railroad. So you're going to look at the next picture there. It's actually done. And it shows a train, 1902 style, I guess, exiting the bridge. And you can also see to the left of the picture the old bridge, how they kind of go across. But that is also a pretty big. Have you ever seen that?
No. Rock?
You don't get around, do you?
Hey, I go to bridges that were built by homicidal ancestors.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Another good tie-in there. Okay, if you're on Route 81, you're going along past Harrisburg, and as you cross over the Susquehanna River, okay, you're going south on 81, Interstate 81. Look to your right. You're going to see this long bridge across the river, Rockville Bridge.
Rockville. Okay. All right.
Okay, you taking notes?
I am.
Okay, that bridge has 70-foot spans. Okay, the Tunkhannock one had 180-foot spans, 10 of them. So that's 1,800 feet. Okay, this is 70-foot spans, but it's 48 of them. So it's many, many. Total length is 3,820 feet. Height to rock below is 43 feet, so it doesn't stick way up in the air. It's the longest stone masonry arch railroad viaduct in the world.
Wow.
Okay. Looking at the next picture, it's sort of current there, and it shows another steam train there. And you're looking, you're looking west over the river. And if you can see the little grassy areas, looks like little islands, that was where the old bridge was. If you remember that first picture, they kind of came together as a V, sort of. So according to my information, it crosses the Susquehanna River north 5 miles of Harrisburg. Okay, on the eastern shore is the little town of Rockville. On the western shore is Marysville, which, by the way, is the home of the Marysville Diner. Very good breakfast there, okay?
You can look at the bridge and then have breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and it's interesting because if you go up on the west shore of the river there, I think it might be Route 15 there, Route 15 and 11 together.
Yeah.
You're going up, and Marysville is like 2 miles above the interstate there, and you can see the bridge. You know, it's coming like right at you. You can see how it curves, and then now the railroad goes along with the road there. So anyway, originally had 4 tracks. In the 80s, 1980s, it was reduced to 3. Now it's only 2 tracks with a buffer zone on either side. And the reason they have buffer zones on each side is there was an intermodal container was blown into the river. So, you know, intermodal, there's the one that looks like a tractor trailer on a train, okay? And it got, I guess there's high winds whipped through there, and it got blown into the river. So now the 2 tracks are in the center, so if it gets blown over, it can stay on the bridge.
Oh, wow.
And there's also damage to the bridge and such. Okay, now the next picture here, the last one, shows the whole bridge, and that is looking, that's looking to the west. And so if you look to the upper right-hand corner, you see a tree sort of close up. You're looking through the branches. And you can kind of see some buildings there. That's Marysville, okay? Anyway, that's the bridge there. And in fact, if you look closely, that's an intermodal type of train there in that last picture. So that's kind of a pretty neat thing.
I probably passed it and had no idea.
Well, you better start looking. You're disciplining your children at the time.
Probably.
Yeah, quit hitting your brother, quit hitting your sister. Come on.
Keep your arms and legs to yourself.
So anyway, Norfolk Southern Railway runs that one also, as in the Tunkhannock one. Amtrak Pennsylvania also goes through there. And it says, during times of flooding, it was routine to park heavy trains on the bridge for extra strength. I thought that was interesting. It's scary, too. So anyway, 1975, that was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And I think that's pretty neat. So,
those are both massive structures.
Yeah.
Like you said, it is amazing that they did that.
And again, you know, if you're
100+ years
into
ago.
that old structure stuff, and it's neat, I highly recommend going up to the Tunkhannock Viaduct and just seeing that, because it's a nice area up there too.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we only have a few minutes, and I'm done.
What?
That's it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
You've been good places.
Yeah. Oh, all the time.
All the time.
And as I say, the Rockville Bridge is still there as of last night. About this
You were
time.
all the way up there last night.
Well, I was coming back from Mom and Dad's from 81,
yeah,
and I just looked over. Yep, it's
There
there.
it is. Didn't get flooded out.
No, nope.
Very cool.
Okay.
You outdid yourself tonight, Mr. Olson.
Yes, thank you.
You were sweating it, weren't you?
No.
Well, thank you all for joining us, and thanks to our guest, Butch, and for making the trek out here.
And a guest appearance by Chris.
Thanks, Chris. And Jay.
Jay, oh yes, Jay, and our driver.
And thank you to our donor who
Yes.
helped, I guess we can say underwrite maybe would be a good term for
I
that,
think that's
our
a good
show
word,
tonight.
yeah.
So thank you. And I guess probably we won't see you again probably before Diner Day, because that's coming up really fast.
It is. It is.
Whew. So that'll be our next big thing, November 3rd, Saturday. And other than that, we will see you then. We'll come up with another excellent guest for next time.
It's your turn.
Oh, man. I got to find a cool place to go, too.
You better.
All right. The pressure's on. So we're going to go so I can get started on the next one. Thanks all for joining us.